Hi guys, we are on chapter 9 of PSB 11, and this is a series of letters to and from Cecile. Vanetta wrote, Dear Cecile, how are you? I'm fine. Delphine made us write Dear Cecile, but this is my letter and I can write it what I want. Which do you like best, Mother, Mommy? How about Little Ma? Since we already have Big Ma. Since you are bigger than Big Ma, I'll just write Cecile. Remember I said I'm going to the 4th grade? In 2 weeks, I'll be in my 4th grade classroom. My new teacher's name is Mrs. Dixon. I'll tell her you're my mother and Big Ma is my grandmother because she'll see Big Ma at parent-teacher conference, and she won't see you. Pa's getting married to a nice lady with groovy makeup and clothes. I'm going to be a flower girl. I will look pretty in my flower girl dress. I want my dress to be yellow, pink, or violet. Delphine is a giant crab. Yours truly, Vanetta Gaither. Fern wrote, To Nazilla, I like leaves in the summer. I like leaves in the fall. There's no leaves in the winter, so don't leave. Afua. She made the first A in Afua extra large and the small A with a curly tail to match the way Cecile signs her poems in movable type printing blocks. A large and fancy N and a fancy Z with a tail. I said, Fern, you forgot the period. She pointed to the one after her name and said, There it is. I pointed to the word leave. It goes there, after don't leave. She said, No, it doesn't. I said, It's wrong, Fern. She bobbed her little turtle head and snapped, It's right, so don't touch it. Fine, I said, send it that way. I'm sending it that way, and you better not touch it. She folded her arms, happy to be wrong. I checked Vanetta's letter and rolled my eyes about the giant crab part. You shouldn't write all this stuff about Cecile being big and how that lady's marrying Pa is nice. Cecile is big, bigger than Big Ma, bigger than you, Vanetta said, and Pa's fiancé is nice and wears nice clothes. Surely is, surely does. That still doesn't mean you should write it, I said. How could she use that word fiancé, Pa's fiancé? You can't tell us what to write. We have the freedom to write what we want. And to put a period where we want to. And to say Miss Hendricks is nice. Power to the people. Power to the people. Right on. I wanted to write a letter to Hirohito, but I didn't know his house number. If I took a guess and sent it, and the post office returned it, Big Ma would get my letter first. She'd probably open it and read it and tell me I was too young to be writing to a boy. I decided to write my mother instead. Cecile had already told me to mind my business about her feelings and about Pa, but I still wanted to know why my parents didn't get married. Why my father bought Miss Marva Hendricks a ring, but he didn't buy one for my mother. Instead, I told Cecile how I tried to help Vanetta and Fern with their letters and they didn't want my help. I said Vanetta and Fern were driving me crazy and that I couldn't wait for school to start so I could officially be in the 6th grade. I didn't ask her for Hirohito's address like I wanted to. She'd make a big federal case out of it like Big Ma had and write back and say things that made me feel bad or want to scratch my head. I just closed my letter with yours truly and my name. If Cecile cared where Fern put her period and if Pa's lady friend was nice or if Vanetta planned on being a flower girl, she didn't mention it in her letter to me. When the envelope with an Oakland, California postmark arrived, I opened it and gave Vanetta her letter and Fern hers. I thought they would read their letters out loud, but they took them and ran back to their room. To me, she wrote, Dear Delphine, you all have something. I saw it at the rally. Vanetta is a natural-born performer. She can open her mouth and holler when she wants to. That little girl is a natural-born poet. You saw her being born on the kitchen floor, and I saw a poet being born up on that stage. Her rally poem isn't exactly Longfellow, but it's a running start. She might run far. Let her go. Let her run. Don't concern yourself with old things. Concern yourself with finding your own thing. But don't rush. Listen to Billy sing, God bless the child who has her own. Enjoy the time it takes to find your own. Study hard, your mother, Cecile. P.S. B11. She'd written it again. P.S. B11. I stared at it like it was the wrong grade marked on the bottom of my paper. My mother was touch crazy, but not dumb. But now I felt dumb because I didn't know Billy or why Cecile had written that twice, P.S. be 11. I was 11. How could you become what you already were? Chapter 10, School Shopping. Big Ma, please. I was no pleader or whiner, but I found myself making those sounds at Big Ma in Corvette's department store on school shopping day. Big Ma kept pulling hangers of pleated wool skirts off the rack and putting them back. She paid me no mind. I still hoped she had heard me. Can I just try on? You'll try what I give you. Now hush, Delphine. Vanetta and Fern stuck their tongues out at me. I was tired of wearing the same old pleated wool skirts my sisters wore. But Big Ma wouldn't hear anything about anything different. According to Big Ma, we should look like we were prepared to sit at our desks at school, not dig ditches in the dirt. Pant wearers dug ditches, and no female should wear any pants other than underpants. The only exceptions were shorts with matching tops for summertime running around. According to Big Ma, pants were a man's business, and no woman had any business in them. My mother wore pants, men's pants. It's not that I wanted them. I didn't. I knew better than to ask for a pair of bell-bottoms or jeans, although Miss Honeywell looked snappy and mod in her shocking pink bell-bottom pants and matching jacket with big gold buttons. It was all the school talked about. Miss Honeywell, a teacher, and a grown woman, was escorted to the principal's office like a bad boy walking in the paddle mile, while a hallway aide watched her classroom. My soon-to-be teacher wasn't sent home to change clothes, but she never wore her shocking pink pantsuit or any other pants to school again. All I wanted was to start 6th grade with a 6th grade look. I wanted to pick out my own skirts and jumpers. I didn't care that we shopped at Corvette's and not Macy's or Gertz. I only wanted to have a say in what I looked like. Big Ma had picked out 3 skirts for Vanetta and Fern in the children's department, and now it was my turn. Nothing Big Ma held to me had a prayer of fitting. Dagnabbit! Big Ma never swore, but she did that day. Skirt after skirt failed, and Big Ma let loose another dagnabbit. It was a sign from above. My long arms and legs were good for something, maybe even a part of his plan to come to my rescue. We were now forced to shop among the junior miss racks. I had a better chance of picking out my own clothes, and if I didn't, I'd at least look mod, although I'd have been happy to just look normal. Big Ma must have prayed harder to find wool-pleated skirts because amongst those new jumpers and skirts, she managed to find a rack of babyish pleated skirts. She held one up to me. The hem fell at least 5 inches below my knee. I would start off the 6th grade looking like a schoolmarm in Gunsmoke. Please, please, I prayed, but Big Ma wouldn't listen. Maybe the Lord would. I was tired of staring down every other girl in my grade who snickered at my pleated wool skirts and Peter Pan collars. All I wanted was to look like everyone else. Wasn't fighting with immature boys in the schoolyard more than enough to bear? I focused my eyes away from the inward prayer only to zero in on Lucy Rowley, Miss Everyone Else, shopping at Corvette's with her mother. How could a prayer go so wrong? I must have stood out like a giraffe because she saw me before I could turn away. Mrs. Rowley called after her, her arms laden with outfits, all mod, I was certain. Lucy ignored her mother and charged her away. You'd have thought Lucy would have been ashamed to be caught shopping in Corvette's when she bragged her clothes came from Macy's or Gertz. Yet, there she was doing the opposite of shrinking and fleeing. Lucy Rowley was one of my oldest friends, but she would also snicker at me with the best of the snickerers. We ran hot, warm, and cold with each other. I always adjusted my friendliness to meet hers. When she made it over, Fern sang, "Lucy, Lucy, Goosey." Lucy thought Fern's song was cute and danced to it, and Vanetta had to get in on the Lucy Goosey dance too. Big Ma didn't appreciate any of this finger popping and making a grand Negro spectacle of ourselves in the junior miss section of Corvette's department store. Big Ma's disdain bounced right off Lucy. In fact, Lucy was loud and gushy, and she was never too gushy with me. You're back, she said. Hi, Mrs. Gavier. Nice hat. Jazzy feather. Lucy Rowley always managed to rub Big Ma the wrong way. She once called Lucy my sometimey friend, meaning that Lucy wasn't true blue. Lucy reached onto the rack and pulled out a mod jumper and said, "Get this," and shoved it at Big Ma until she had no choice but to take it. Lucy then squeezed my hand and led me away from my grandmother and sisters. I was bigger and stronger than Lucy, but I allowed myself to be pulled away. Lucy held both hands and jumped small, testifying before the altar jumps. "Turn on Channel 7 and watch the Hollywood Palace tonight." "Why?" I asked her. It was something big, something important. Lucy Riley liked to be the one in the know, and I couldn't pretend I didn't care. "Because if you don't, you'll kick yourself from Sunday to Monday and back to Sunday. I'm telling you, Miss Too Cool to Keep Up, you have to watch it, you and your sisters." "Why can't you tell me who's going to be on?" I asked. "What's so special? And why do they have to see it too?" "I told you, if you miss it, you'll die. And if they miss it, they'll want to kill you." We might have been whispering for a minute, but it was a minute too long for Mrs. Rowley. "Girl, I'm about to leave these clothes, and you in here, if you don't come on." "What do you mean running off, Lucy Ray?" I giggled a little. Lucy liked to put on how she was all Brooklyn when her mother was as country as Big Ma. "Coming, Mama," Lucy said, rushing back to her. She turned to me and said, "Channel 7, Hollywood Palace, tonight." I had my own grandmother to face. She settled on 2 pleated skirts for me, but hadn't put back the jumper Lucy had shoved in her hands. I got an earful from Big Ma, but she paid for the mob jumper. Prayer works. Chapter 11 is called "I Want You Back," and I think I'm just going to go ahead and read it today. One thing was for certain. Lucy Rowley didn't have a bedtime like my sisters and me. The Netta and Firm had to be bathed in PJs and in bed by 8:30. My bedtime was 9 o'clock, or after I finished reading them a bedtime story, scrubbing their tub, and taking my own bath. Since Big Ma counted on me to look after my sisters, my bedtime began to shift and slide past 9. I'd sit quietly on the rug watching an episode of the FBI that Big Ma had fallen asleep on. Even after I climbed in bed, I'd sleep lightly enough to hear my father's keys jingling at the door around midnight, and I'd go warm up his food. I didn't know how much longer past 8:30 my sisters could stay awake, but for once I'd listen to Lucy Rowley. I told Vanette and Firm we had to watch something on TV and to be ready when I come to get them. "You have to be quiet," I told my sisters. "You can't wake Big Ma or we'll miss it." "Miss what? You need to tell us," Vanetta said. I didn't know, but I didn't want to come off not knowing, I said, trusting Lucy Rowley. "It's a surprise, the best surprise. You just have to be quiet and watch." When we got out in the hallway, I said, "We're on a spy mission, top secret." I zipped my lips. They did the same and followed me into the living room. It was 1/2 past the hour. The show was already on, and I hoped we hadn't missed the surprise. Big Ma snored ferociously. Her body sunk peacefully into her comfy chair. I turned the sound all the way down and clicked the dial to Channel 7. With each click, I waited for Big Ma to awaken and send us to bed without seeing our surprise, but Big Ma snored on. We sat before the glowing television, careful not to make noise. So far, we had seen Diana Ross without the Supremes, wearing a glittery gold jumpsuit. Even gold came across as gold on black and white television set. I smiled to myself and thought Miss Diana Ross wasn't hardly digging any ditches in her sparkly gold pants. Before you knew it, Sammy Davis Jr. had joined her on the stage, and the two joked around with each other. We couldn't hear the jokes, but even if we could, I knew the two performers were not the surprise we waited for. I liked Diana Ross and the Supremes. I liked Sammy Davis in his sharp black suits, tap dancing, singing all cool with his hair slick and shiny. If it were the afternoon on the Mike Douglas show, my sisters and I would have been glued to the TV screen, shouting "Black Infinity," because black folks were on TV for more than a minute. It was late into the night, and I had pulled my sisters out of bed on a spy mission that wasn't worth a whipping. I had put my trust in Lucy when I should have known better. After all, Lucy wasn't my best friend. Frida Banks was. I turned the sound up just a little, and we moved closer to the screen. We could hear Diana Ross telling Sammy Davis Jr. about 5 Jacksons and the lead singer, whose name was Michael. That was the last sane and clear thought I had before I saw at least 100 bright light bulbs and 5 boys on stage singing that new Sly and the Family Stone song. Our television screen didn't seem big enough for all those Jacksons. Afros bopping, arms swinging, and feet stepping and spinning in sync. They were wide bell-bottoms, like crazy. The voices in the back were smooth and together, and the little boy singer let out his lungs like James Brown and Jackie Wilson rolled into one. Our mouths opened to scream, but we were on a spy mission. Vanetta and I covered our mouths with our hands. Fern stuffed the bottom of her nightie in her mouth, and we shook and silently screamed. Then the Jackson boys had gone from singing the Sly and Family Stone song to singing a slower song, a love song about remembering. The camera kept showing that youngest boy. He wasn't the one I watched. I felt myself tremble every time they showed the tallest Jackson brother, and I swore. And I didn't swear. If Big Ma was whipping my legs with her lightning strap, I wouldn't have felt a lick. I could only feel my heart beating and my eyes tearing every time they showed him on the screen. He had to be the oldest. And tall. So tall. Every time the youngest one sang, Can you remember? Fern whispered, Sure we do. And we didn't bother to shush her. The camera kept putting Michael up on the screen, and that made Fern happy. Vanetta too, but I was happy to get a glimpse of that oldest one and wished he sang the love song. As tall as he was, he danced smooth, better than all his little brothers put together. Then a commercial came on, and we all squeezed one another and bit our hands from screaming. We had to sit through other performers, but finally it was time for the five brothers to return, and Diana Ross introduced them, the Jackson Five. The youngest one started things off, telling us they had an album coming out, and then the piano rolled hard, and the guitars twanged electric and loud, and that little boy was begging his girlfriend to come back. When his brothers ooh-hoo-hooed, and Vanetta, Fern, and I screamed and danced with the Jackson Five. Then Big Mom woke up. Go to bed! Y'all better get in your beds now! We stopped dancing, but we couldn't stop watching. We were frozen by the fear of the strap and frozen by the Jackson Five. And the most electric song ever played, sung or danced to. We didn't know what to do. Where's my strap? Big Ma said. Delphine, get me my strap. I managed to say, can we see the rest, Big Ma? Can we see it? Please, Big Ma. We gotta see it. Do you know what time it is? Big Ma said, searching for the clock. It's nighttime. There's nothing on TV for children this time of night. They're children, I answered. They're our age. Although the oldest Jackson had to be in the 11th or 12th grade. And then there was the guitar player. The one with the eyebrows. He had to be in high school. And the other guitar player, too. That should be against the law, Big Ma said. Children singing, dancing on TV late at night. Please, Big Ma, please. She wagged her finger at us. This is your no mother of mothers doing. Y'all come back here as wild as a bunch of untrained, back-talking chimps sneaking around in the night. Please, Big Ma, we won't ask for nothing else, I begged. Ever. My sisters chimed in. But Big Ma got up out of her chair and turned off the TV set. She picked up her Bible from the end of the table and sat back down. You've seen them. Now, if those boys have any kind of mother and father, they'll snatch those children off the stage and get them home to bed. Now, you all get in your beds before your father comes home and sees you're up. But it's not over, Vanetta wailed. We want Michael. Fern said, Michael? Michael? Her face was like Cecile's when we said things that made her think we were Martians. Or at the very least, not her children. What you want is my strap. It was when Big Ma lifted herself up and out of her comfy chair that we knew she wasn't fussing with us, and we scooted back to our rooms. I turned out my light and fell into my bed. I had never cried so hard in my life. Not because I couldn't see the rest of the show, but because I saw him. He was tall. Taller than me. We'll read again another day.